Velina mai kako, welcome to Keep It Aloha, a podcast that keeps aloha by thinking kamaboko is shark. I'm your host Kamaka, and was I the only kid who thought that growing up? Was that a Hilo thing? Let me know in the comments below, because I have a vague recollection of thinking kamaboko is shark growing up. We got an awesome guest today, but before we introduce him, I gotta remind you to check out our Patreon ohana at patreon.com/kamakadias to get exclusive behind the scenes access to this podcast. We're an independent podcast, and all funds go to helping us run this podcast and bring you the best quality content every week. If supporting this podcast with money is not for you, but you still love listening to us, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It would mean the world to me. Today's episode, we're going to learn a lot about sharks. Mike Coots is a big shark advocate. He lost a foot to sharks, but he advocates for sharks. Check out that irony. We dive into some really awesome topics, his story about how it happened, and his life is such an inspiration. So I was just curious, asking so many questions on this episode, and I think you'll enjoy it just as much as I did. So enjoy the episode and let us know what you think. All right, let's introduce our guest. Support for this podcast comes from Texaco in Hawaii, which features 58 convenient locations across the state. Fueling up at Texaco is fast and easy when you use the Texaco mobile app to pay at the pump. The Texaco mobile app is a contactless way to pay for fuel so you can get in and out of the gas station quickly. Fuel your car and fuel yourself. Pick up your favorite local snacks and ice cold drinks at your neighborhood Texaco today. Texaco at Techron, driving performance. Our guest today is a world-famous ocean photographer from the island of Kaua'i. This surfer, diver, shark advocate, and amputee is as impressive as they come. After losing a limb to a shark attack at the age of 18, he went from possible pro sportsman to shark photographer. In recent years, this accomplished surfer has won a silver medal at the 2016 ISA World Adaptive Surfing Championship and published a book adding author to his resume. He turned pain into purpose and is truly an inspiration to us all. I am so stoked to talk stories with this guy today. His name is Mike Coots. Aloha, Mike. Welcome to the Keep It Low podcast. How you doing, guy?
Aloha, Kamaka. Nice to finally be here. It's been like a year, I think, in the making.
Yes, I'm happy it finally worked out. I don't know if you noticed, I really tried to add the guy in there because I know that's a Kaua'i thing, right?
Yeah.
Why is that a thing?
I don't know. It's just part of our language. It's funny how each island's got their own little slang.
The guy just, the bra and all that, guy. I guess didn't get to Kaua'i. Yeah. I was just talking to somebody the other day and they were saying like, how come that's a thing? And Tumua, I don't know if you know the comedian Tumua.
He just performed on Kaua'i. Yep.
He had a whole skit about like, how somebody's from Kaua'i, they got the tamba hat and they call everybody guy, even the girls guy.
Hilarious.
Yeah, so it's funny. But I'm super stoked that you're in the studio, Mala, for making it out. I've been following you for I think about a year when we started talking and trying to schedule this. And amazing photography.
Thank you.
Amazing story.
Thank you.
I've also talked to other people like, hey, you know this guy Mike Coots? Because I like to ask people about and only good things. So And if there were bad things, I wouldn't tell you.
Okay,
anyways,
perfect.
Perfect. No, I'm super stoked to get to know your life story. I was just telling you before we started how I usually research my guests, and I started to research you, and I was like, wait, no, I just want to learn all about this in person because it's such an incredible story, and you're so talented. So let's get to know you. I like to start from the beginning. Where are you from? Where you grad? And what was it like growing up?
Okay, I was born on the island of Kaua'i. I grew up in a little plantation town called Kilauea, old sugar mill town. I fell in love with the ocean at an early age. One of my earliest memories was my grandmother pushing me in at Poipu Beach Park on a boogie board. I would have been like 4 years old. My childhood from then on was everything around the water. Like I was just wanting to get to the beach from elementary days. As soon as that bell rang, it was like straight to the beach. And boogie boarding was like a really popular thing amongst my friends. At the time, Mike Stewart was my absolute hero, professional bodyboarder. He was like a god to us in a way, and we just totally idolized him. And I got really into spearfishing and diving my early teens, maybe 13, 14. And there was one summer we spent, I think, every single day spearfishing the reefs below Princeville. I was the worst of my group, and because of that, they had me hold what was like a milk jug that was hooked to like a clothes hanger, and anybody that got fish, we would hook that up, and I was holding basically our dinner. And I saw my first shark doing that. I would have been 13 years old. I remember it wasn't a tiger shark. It must have been some sort of reef shark, but not being scared, but a bit fascinated and curious and excited to tell my family when I finished diving that I saw a shark. And it's just crazy how just little things that when you're that young really stick out in your brain. And my parents got divorced when I was 2, and my mom remarried, I think 2 years later, to a Hawaiian guy. And I grew up in a big Hawaiian family. And my mother's side is 5 brothers and sisters. My dad's side, 5 brothers and sisters. My stepdad's side, 5 brothers and sisters.
Oh, 555.
I've got it.
Did you look into that?
Yeah. Big extended family on Kaua'i of Filipino, Japanese, Hawaiian, everything. And it was
plantation.
Yeah. And had a lot of love growing up. They really supported my love for the ocean. And it was just a really good upbringing. We would hitchhike before we got our driver's license to the beach. And it was really, the ocean was everything to us. Whether it was that night's dinner, riding waves, or hanging to meet girls. It was the beach and the ocean was just everything. And we took a family holiday to New Zealand when I was 15. My parents fell in love with it. My dad's a paramedic, and they needed medics there, and they applied for citizenship because they needed they were short on paramedics. We got citizenship, and I packed up and did my junior sophomore year in New Zealand. It was a really fun time. Boogie boarding the North and South Island with friends there and exploring all these amazing surf spots. And my senior year, we moved back to Kaua'i. I graduated Kaua'i High in 97. At that time, I had joined a professional bodyboarding team called Kaua'i Classic. There was about 10 of us. A lot of them were the best in the sport, and we were getting sponsorships, winning contests, traveling. And our coach would take us to the beach in the mornings. It was usually the mornings. He would film us. He had a really good video camera, and we would go back and all together watch the footage of the day. And it helped us improve so much. It's crazy how watching yourself surf is so different than what you think you're doing. It's really humbling.
That's why I don't watch it, because I don't watch myself surf, because in my head I'm just like, bah, bah, bah.
Right.
But then if I saw myself, I'll be like,
oh, that wasn't me.
That's not I imagine.
But it was a really fun time, and we were on this team, and every day we'd go to the beach. And I graduated high school. I was 18 at the time, and we were rolling into our fall surf season. And I remember that summer, the surf didn't get overhead high. Yesterday's swell was bigger than any day that entire summer, and it was a really bad summer. And as we're rolling into our winter's surf season, we saw this swell in the forecast. It was a 6 to 8 northwest, great winds. We got so excited, and everything was pointing for us to go to a surf spot called Majors Bay. It's on the Navy facility on the western side of the island. And we woke up really early, got down to the beach. My coach was there. There was about 5 of us, and we pulled up, and you 4x4 on the sand to get there. We pulled right up to the break, and we opened the doors of the vehicle. And I remember this really disgusting, foul, fishy smell. And I've never to this day smelt anything like that. I'd never smelt anything prior to that. Probably should have used that maybe as an indicator to slow down and maybe something's not right. And it was the waves are going off. It could have been as stinky as you could ever imagine. We were still going surfing, and we jumped in the water, and my friends right off the bat got a really good ride. I was out the back with a stranger, and I just remember my teammates all being inside. My coach is filming. It's the anticipation of the first swell, finally overhead waves after months and months, and saw this beautiful set coming, and I started paddling for it. And right as I made that initial fingers brush the water surface, a large tiger shark came up and grabbed onto both my legs. I didn't feel any pain. It's crazy. You think a shark attack would be extremely painful. I just felt a lot of pressure, you were sitting on my legs. It was very obvious that I was getting attacked. It was very visual. I remember the nose being very square and very wide. It's a telltale sign of a tiger shark. And it almost felt like I was watching a movie of myself, or looking down on myself getting attacked. It wasn't really happening to me.
Like out of body experience.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but it really felt like that. It didn't really feel like it was happening to me. I tried to put my right hand in its mouth to get my legs out, completely out of instinct. And that didn't work. And I remember the pressure getting tighter and tighter, and it lifting me out of the water and started swaying me back and forth, this left and right, sort of like a dog would with a piece of meat, just this rag doll left and right. And it sat back down in the water, and I got back onto the surface, still had my legs in its mouth, and with my left hand, I punched it in the nose. I don't remember how many times I hit it. It might have been 2 or 3 times. That worked. I felt that pressure release off my legs, and I got back on my boogie board, and I looked at the guy next to me. He was like completely white as a ghost. This guy that I had surfed with, complete stranger, and I didn't really know what to say. I just yelled, "Shark, go in." That was the only thing that came out of my mouth. And as I made my first paddle, I looked at my right hand and I could see my index finger was split open. I saw a lot of blood and guts and bone, and knew I was hurt. And I started paddling faster, and my heart was beating really fast, I remember. And when you're paddling, you're like in the prone position, you don't see what's behind you. And my right leg started doing this crazy spasm, like this shake, just crazy shake. And I thought, well, that's got to be the shark finishing me off. And I looked over my right shoulder thinking I'd see a big set of jaws. And it wasn't that. It was my leg completely severed right off. Like if you took a samurai sword and just whacked it right off. Big squirts of blood every time my heart beat, like from me to you, of just these squirts. And my heart did really dropped, and I thought I was going to die. But luckily, everything was happening really fast, and a little wave came, and I rode it right up to the beach. The wave like literally just came within 1 second after all this happened. And I rode it right up to the sand, and I tried standing up. You're used to your entire life having 2 legs, and you're just used to standing. And I get up and I stand up and I fall down and I roll down this little sand embankment, and my friends saw what was happening. They all rushed right up to me. My friend Kyle, quick thinking, took my bodyboard leash, made a tourniquet with it. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if he wasn't clearly thinking, and it saved my life. So I'm grateful for Kyle. And I remember thinking I'm going to die, but not scary. I didn't see my life flash before, nothing like that. It was just this real peaceful feeling. And Kyle said a prayer for me. I closed my eyes, and he said a prayer to keep me alive. And I opened my eyes, and there was a pickup truck right there. And a guy had seen in the parking lot what was happening, put it in 4x, pulled right up to me. They threw me in the back of the pickup truck. And everything was happening so fast, nobody thought to jump in the back of the truck with me, and the truck just took off. And I'm tailgate down. I'm next to these surfboards, or just bumpy sand. Rah, 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 rah. Get onto the main road, and this would have been about 7:30 in the morning, and it was school time. And I remember like not wanting to look at my injury because I thought I'd freak myself out. And we were passing cars, and you know how you can tell the severity of your injury by the reaction of others? We passed this mother and daughter going to school, and I remember looking in their eyes, and the tailgate would have been blood coming, gushing out of the back of it.
And in the back was
yeah,
down,
back of the
right?
tailgate's
So
down. They could see missing limb, just me laying there going like, what the heck is going on? And we would have been about a 10-minute ride to the hospital. And I remember getting really hot and really cold. My body was going into shock. In 1 second, I'm trying to rip off my wetsuit top. Another, I'm wrapping it around me because I'm freezing. And the surfboards that were next to me had this like cloth, like board bag material, this like knitted material. And I started playing with it because I wanted to really like keep my mind off, like distract my mind in a way. So I just kept playing with this fabric pretty much the entire truck ride. And we pulled right up to the emergency room, and he backed perfectly right in. I remember the ER doors opening up, and the doctor running right up to me, and he put his arm on my shoulder, and I passed out. I must have been hanging on for medical help, and my body just gave to as soon as we got to the hospital.
And then when did you wake up?
I woke up, it would have been about half an hour later in this really lucid state. It was a hospital called KVMH. It's a smaller hospital on the west side. And I remember like explaining how wide the shark was with this like lighting fixtures on the ceiling. I had these amazing board shorts that I just got, and they had these medical scissors they were cutting into it. I'm like, no, not my shorts.
That's the thing you're worried about.
Yeah, not my shorts. And then I passed out, and I woke up 24 hours later, basically in our main hospital, Wilcox, post-surgery. The doctors, they do an amputation a little higher up. There's an optimal residual limb length. That's great for prosthetics. They make it that length. And they also wanted to cut a little higher because the shark's teeth have a lot of bacteria, and you can, there's a big risk for infection. And I remember like my eyes flickering open and the light beaming in, and it's my mother and the doctor, and they're like right in my face. And I was like this like very somber moment, a very sober moment. And like I thought maybe they're going to tell me that I'm going to die or something. Like I got seconds left to live. And my mother looks at the doctor, do you want me to tell him? And the doctor's like, yeah, tell him. And, Mike, you lost your leg to a tiger shark. And I was like, I know, I saw it happen. And then they chuckled, and then my dad chuckled. And I think they were just happy that I realized the extent of what happened and that I was aware of everything that happened. And I was just honestly happy to be alive. I didn't think I was going to wake up with my family around me and missing a leg or not. I just felt grateful to be alive, and was in the hospital for about a week. I had a guy about the third day come and visit me. There was a lot of people in the community coming and going, saying their well wishes. And this guy came, and 5 minutes he was in the hospital, and left. And he was wearing pants. I didn't really think anything of it. And my mother afterwards was like, he's got a prosthetic leg. That's what you're going to have. And I was like, prosthetic leg? I'd never seen an amputee in my life. I'd never seen prosthetics. I had no idea there was such a thing that would help me walk again. I thought I was, crutches in a wheelchair the rest of my life. And she's like, no, we're going to get you a prosthetic. And I was like, all right, that's cool. And I spent about a week or so in the hospital, about a month after that, at home, just recuperating. And that to me was the most difficult time, was that month off of the ocean. I'd never been out of the water that long. And as many surfers can attest, it's pretty hard when you're out of the water for a month.
You got that itch.
You got the itch, and the winter season's just starting, and it was the first swell, and I didn't even really get a chance to catch a wave. And my friends are coming over and showing me what the surf was like that day, and I'm just like, don't, please.
You're making it worse.
Yeah. And then come a month, the stitches and staples came out. The doctor said I could get back in the water, and I remember going back very close to where I got attacked, just because I was with friends and they wanted to go there that day, and I was on crutches. I hadn't had a prosthetic yet that time, and the west side's got some really soft sand, and it's super hot, and just sweating with these crutches, trying to get to the water's edge, and the crutches just dig deep in the sand every step. And I get right to where the water's lapping up onto the beach, and got on my knees and put the crutches to the side, got my boogie board, my one fin, and went back out for that first session. And how amazing it felt to be back in the ocean. One of the best feelings on earth.
That's so cool. Do you ever get tired of telling this story?
I tell it almost every day in one way or another. No, I think people are just curious, and it's part of my life. It's part of what happened. I do different length versions, I guess, but people are just curious. And I don't like when people come off the street, like, what happened to your leg? I think it's a bit disrespectful. And I've got a pretty cool story of losing my leg, and if you could say, and there's a lot of people that their stories are a lot different. And I really empathize for what they're going through and how difficult it must be for them as well. So I'm not a big fan of that. But if somebody wants to just start chatting with me, and I'll open up, absolutely.
Yeah. So what is the best way to, approach somebody that's missing a limb?
It really depends on the situation. Like what the context is. You're at the bar and a guy's missing a leg and everybody's drinking. They'll be like, hey bro, what happened to your leg? Like, that's not really the way to do it. A lot of kids are really curious, and the kids are unfiltered, and I every single time you can take a guess, and then first thing is always shark. It's always shark. But it really varies on the context, and everybody's different. And everybody's got their own comfort level with their disability in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess rule of thumb, in general stuff, don't just come out.
Yeah. But if you're sitting in an 8-hour flight next to somebody and you guys are chatting about everything in life, that's a little different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that hard at first? Getting used to that?
The most difficult thing, I think, was my self-image with the prosthetic. Like I mentioned, never seeing anyone with the prosthetic in my life. I knew I was different, and I went to art school in Santa Barbara, and I wore pants pretty much at least the first 3 years. Most of my classmates had no idea I had a prosthetic. I hid it pretty well. They must have known something was up because I had a pretty bad limp at the time. But I wasn't walking around proudly with my prosthetic, and that's something that I've grown with, and I've grown to become proud of. And I think a lot helps being with other amputees, and I do a lot of events on the mainland where we all get together and we go surfing, and we've got prosthetics, and to be around other people and realizing, you're not the only one. And I think early on, you really feel like you're the only person in Hawaii that's missing a leg, because I really didn't see anybody else.
I think that's what makes you so cool today, is that you are the representation. We talk about representation, not just culturally and in all aspects of your career, and that there's gonna be kids who, I don't know what the situation is, but they see you and it's like, wow, look at him. He's doing something so cool, and he's not letting his disability stop him.
Well, thank you. And I think that's one of the really good things about social media is I can share information on what works for me. If you want to, you're a below the knee amputee, you want to go surfing for the first time, what you should and shouldn't do. When I first started surfing with my prosthetic, I Googled it and did a Google image search. Nothing came up. I think there was one guy in Northern California that was occasionally going out with his prosthetic to go surfing, and there's really nothing else I could find on the internet of what works, what doesn't. I wanted to find the Kelly Slater surfing foot, and it didn't exist.
Yeah. Well, the internet was still pretty new
Yeah.
back then, and social media didn't come out until like years after.
And I think it was MySpace that really actually helped me get comfortable with.
Shout out to MySpace.
With my prosthetic. I would have been about the third year in college. I was studying photography, and my prosthetist, I didn't have health insurance, and he told me to not, and he was kind of just like helping me on the side and giving me prosthetic, to kind of just felt bad for me and was hooking it up and told me not to take it in the ocean. And when I would go bodyboarding or boogie boarding, I would always leave it on the beach. And I wasn't really into surfing that much at all. In fact, I didn't surf at all. And I was going to school in Santa Barbara, and the waves there are not good for bodyboarding. They're absolutely perfect for riding a longboard. And it would have been the third year in school, and it was one really hot summer day, and my friends and I were at a surf spot called Ledbetter Beach. It's this little tiny right-hand point break, and they had these big surfboards, and they're like, you should just take your prosthetic in the ocean and see if you can catch a wave and stand up. And I was like, I don't know. I was told not to. And I was like, something in my head just said, just try it. Mm-hmm. And paddled out. My leg didn't fall apart. First wave, I stood up right to the shore. I was like, what? This is so sick. And I just remember the stoke and the froth factor was 10 out of 10. Next few weeks, I rigged up on the nose of the board a little tiny Sony camera with a water housing that had a 10-second timer mode, and I'd paddle for the wave, push the button, stand up, and it would take one photo. And I shared it on MySpace. And I just remember like the comments, people were so nice and encouraging. And it was like these very uplifting words. And I think the more I shared, in a way, it was like therapy for me. And I realized, well, people, they don't think this is weird. They think this is beautiful and amazing. And slowly the pants came off and the board shorts came on, and I got more and more comfortable with myself as an amputee, myself wearing a prosthetic, and showing to the world, what amputees can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny how that works, right? A lot of things happen in our head that don't actually happen in real life, right?
Yeah,
that's what fear is. It's just like this illusion.
Mm-hmm. And usually it's not nearly as bad as you think.
Totally, yeah. And there's totally, people view the world differently. There's different realities that we live in, perspectives. Like, you in your head, you're like, oh, look at me, this is super weird. But like, you can have people like, that's so cool. Like the little kids, right? Yeah. So I'm sure you get
robot
leg
and all that.
Yeah. So it's cool just hearing the different perspectives of it all. Going back to the shark attack. What happened to your leg? Were you able to find it? Did they cut the rest of it off?
So the leg was perfectly cut off. Okay. There was, my dad, his paramedic side, is thinking we should try to go find that leg and reattach it. The next day, the fin that, it was a Viper bodyboarding fin, the fin that was on that foot, there was somebody from one of the national TV networks doing like a man on the beach kind of interview or whatever, talking, and the fin washed up right as he was talking on the beach. So I got that fin back, but there was no foot inside. My other foot, I almost lost that. I got 3 pretty good sized cuts. Lost a lot of blood on that leg as well. And unfortunately, I have that foot and mobility in that foot as well. And my right index finger, the teeth of the shark cut through a nerve, and I had to fly here to Oahu and got a nerve surgery done on my finger. And the first maybe 5 to 10 years, it was really sensitive, tingly, and now it's feeling better. And it's my trigger finger for the camera, for photography. Okay. And so for a bit, it was a little, every time I took a picture, I'd kind of feel a tingle.
Nice.
Yeah.
So did you surf, stand up surf before
No. That? And there's bodyboarders and surfers have a bit of animosity.
Totally.
And I was just a diehard bodyboarder. That's all it was. I was completely diehard. And it wasn't until really college that I stood up on a surfboard, and especially a shortboard.
Yeah. And you picked it up pretty.
Yeah. I total North Shore movie style, where I started on a huge longboard. A year later, I'm on a little smaller. And then now I ride a 6.0 regular shortboard.
Okay. Yeah. It was good that you spent so much time in the ocean because you understood the waves. Because that's
the biggest thing.
That's the thing people don't think about. That's what I didn't know when I started surfing, because I grew up Hilo. My friends are all hardcore bodyboarders. Do you, wait, sorry, I have more questions, but you think there's more people that say bodyboard or boogie board?
So the newer generation say bodyboard. Some of the older school guys like the term boogie board. Yeah. I personally like boogie boarding. Yeah. Bodyboarding sounds a little stuffy. Boogie boarding sounds fun and just don't care. Yeah. Do
you ever watch all those videos that come out? I think it's was it Boogie? My
Yep.
friends had all the DVDs.
Yep.
and-
No, I've seen them all. There's
Yeah.
Boogie Nights. There's
Yeah.
Boogie Nation.
Boogie Nation.
Yeah,
Yeah. Boogie Nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering that. I
Yeah.
had Jeff Hubbard on like one of the early
No way.
episodes.
Okay. Yeah. He's a
And-
good friend.
Yeah. Solid guy.
Yep.
And we talked about that too, and about how there's kind of like this thing, and I've seen it growing up, like this thing with boogie boarders, surfers. He was saying like boogie boarders, it's more niche. It's more like kind of like the.
But you really see like a respect of like all the top level professional surfers and all the top level professional bodyboarders. They're friends, and they really respect each other and what they can do in the ocean. And it's just some waves are really well made for bodyboarding. Some of the slabbier, heavier, bigger barrels they're great bodyboard waves. You'll see on each of the islands, on the spots that are a little bit more extreme, you'll see a good crew of bodyboarders out there that sometimes get the best waves.
Yeah, my friend, they went to Cook Islands.
Okay. Yep.
Recently. They got some good waves over there.
I've heard it's good over there. Yeah.
Do you know Nate Rubio by any chance?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. He was one of
one of the guys that went. Yeah.
Like Damien, Archangel, Rocky. She's there. All the big island boys.
I had a bunch of bodyboarding friends that caught the first Hawaiian flight over there. I think it was about a year ago.
Okay.
To go surf over there.
Yeah. Sick. So, transitioning to surfing, like stand-up surfing. Once you caught your first wave in Santa Barbara. Did you fall in love with that more than boogie board? It was kind of more just like another thing that you added to your
It was another thing, and like to this day I do about 50-50. Depends on the waves. I'll surf maybe half the time, bodyboard half the time. Usually if the waves are a little bigger and more heavier, I'll bodyboard. I love toe-in surfing with the surfboard. Toe-in bodyboarding is a little hard because you're like really close to the surface of the water and all that spray goes in your eyes and you don't have your knees to absorb all that. But it's about 50-50. And that time I got really into surfing. And there was a couple years I don't even think I bodyboarded once. I was just so excited about something new in the ocean and the challenge of it. And I really wanted to like see how far I could take my surfing prosthetic and what little things I could do to tweak it to make me a better surfer. And that was a really fun time. I remember like stuff would break and I would have to like weld things together, epoxy a JB weld. And I found that eBay was selling prosthetic parts. And I got one day 10 feet from Germany. They were like this rubber ball joint, and they weren't the best feet, but getting 10 feet in the mail and being able to play around with it. My friend Kepa Cruz came over. He's like a really innovator kind of guy. And we would cut different angles and try, and I'd go out, paddle out, try this foot, come back in, would take the next foot, cut it at a different angle, and see what really worked. And it was really when I went on a snowboarding trip, and there's a lot of amputee snowboarders, and the guy that was setting up my bindings suggested that I angle my foot out. I can change like the left and right angle and also the up and down angle as well with like an Allen wrench with these screws. And he's like, try angle so you're not so pigeon-toed, but angle your foot out. A lot of snowboarders do that. And I did that. And I was like, whoa, it like really opens up my stance. And came back home in my first surf session. I did that, opened out the toe. It's a little awkward to walk on land, but as soon as you're standing up on the surfboard, it feels so natural. And especially riding backside, your backhand bottom turn, it really opens up your stance. And I found that was like a huge hack for surfing with a prosthetic. And then also when carbon fiber feet came out, that was huge. Carbon fiber as a material for amputees is incredible. It absorbs your energy, holds it, then releases that kinetic energy, that stored energy, and gives you like a really good spring. And on the surfboard, you want to be able to move that rail around and not be absorbed in the ankle itself, but be able to release that back to the surfboard and drive your surfboard to get speed.
It's cool that you also got to see the whole progression of it through the years, and I'll go through these upgrades.
Yeah, absolutely. And then even in the sport itself, going from, barely, if any, like amputee surfers on the planet to now there's events around the world. There's teams hoping to get into the Paralympics in 2028 in Los Angeles. It's a whole movement of these incredible wave riders from around the planet. I mean, the disabled community is the biggest minority group in the world. There's over 1 million amputees in America alone. It's actually a lot bigger of a population than you think.
Well, what categorizes is like Missing a limb?
Yeah, missing even a finger. It's called a digit.
Okay.
I've got my knee. I'm fortunate I've got my knee, but there's below the knee, above the knee amputees. You've got upper extremity with arms. A lot of people that are missing arms opt to not use prosthetics. They just find that it's a little easier sometimes without it. But prosthetics, upper extremity prosthetics are getting really good now, and that's changing things. And people are starting to really love prosthetic hands, to be able to control things with their hands. For myself, my prosthetic is like, it's my everything. It's like to me, it's more valuable than my jet ski, my truck, everything combined, because without it, I'm stuck on the couch. It's my mode of transportation to go get to work, to see my family, my friends, my self-worth. Like, my prosthetic is everything to me. It's crazy that something so tangible that you can hold has so much intrinsic value in my life.
Yeah. That's a really good point, because you don't seem like somebody who like cares so much about material things.
Yeah.
But like, that's like you said.
Yeah. But I mean, if you were to say, okay, take away your truck, take away your jet ski, all your boards, or this, it's a no-brainer.
Interesting
no-brainer.
Yeah. When you started surfing, did you have to switch your stance, or were you already like?
That's a great question. It's my I'm regular foot, and I'm missing my right foot, so it's my back foot that steps on the tail pad. I wish I was goofy foot. I see amputee surfers that have their front foot being their prosthetic is a little easier. And I should have learned how to switch early on. I was told by a couple really good surfers to do it, but now it's a little too late.
Okay, so so you still surf regular?
Yeah, I still surf regular.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering that.
Yeah.
Dang. So, would you have done it if you had the foresight?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would at least tried it for a few months and see how, I'm not Kai Lenny that can switch on every wave, but it would have helped out a lot if I was goofy foot.
You ever thought about just trying?
I've tried on some really big. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, especially since my bad habits have already been developed.
Totally. Is it sore? Like when you?
Nope, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
Early on, it was sore. I had a thing called phantom pain that most amputees get. It's your body's got a nerve system that's basically a closed circuit, and you lose a limb, that circuit changes, and your body's trying to figure out what's going on. So it sends like these pain receptors that. It feels like one day somebody's stabbing me with a knife. Another day, it's like my foot's on fire. So I can still feel like I have my foot. It's really weird, but it feels like all this different. And then it just goes away. Your body, I think, realizes. And the military has, I believe it was at Walter Reed, they figured out that if you put a mirror in the very first days of losing a limb, and you put the mirror where your legs should be, and you see that you have two legs, it shortens that process. Like your brain kind of rewires itself and shortens that process. I did have a lot of like lesions and cuts and things just because I didn't have the best fitting prosthetics early on. And I was really active, and that was pretty painful. And I'm fortunate now I've partnered with the best prosthetics in the world, and they really take care of me. And that pain, I don't have any pain. And feel very fortunate. I don't have any back pain. Years and years, I had a really bad limp, and I attribute that to surfing. Like when you paddle, you're very centered on your board, your back's strong. It's very symmetrical. But I'm grateful I've had no back pain as well, because I do know a good majority of amputees, a lot of them have back pain just because your gait's a little different than it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say changed the most since losing your leg? Besides obvious.
I guess, I could say what's changed the least was my time in the ocean. I think that's what really helped me, was that continuity after the attack. Nothing was really taken away from me. I could still go to the beach. I could still ride waves.
Like you didn't feel like you had something stopping you.
No,
like you never
not at all.
Felt
no,
unable to do anything.
Yeah, no, not at all. Had a huge community backing. Ocean was going off. The waves were firing. I could still boogie board. Yeah.
That's the craziest thing about your stories, especially like how soon you were back in the water. Because people are watching this and listening, and I'm sure maybe you've heard it before. Like something happens to somebody, and they stay away from that thing like for a long time, or like they don't even go back to it.
Yeah.
But I guess your love for the ocean was stronger than your fear for.
And you know, you're 18 years old. You're very resilient at that age. You get a little bit more bitter as you get older.
Yeah. Because like the closest thing for me, when I was in Peace Corps Madagascar, and I got appendicitis my second month, so I had to like get surgery and like take it out. And then my parents on FaceTime, they're like, "Do you want to come home?" I'm like, "No, I just want to go back and join my friend and keep going." And then but for a while I didn't eat duck because I thought I got like an amoeba
from duck.
from duck. It wasn't
Yep.
cleaned well.
Yep.
And then like for a year I didn't eat duck.
Okay.
And that's totally different than like than this. But it took you 5 weeks. It took me a year just to get over that fear.
Yeah.
So you're just built different.
No. I think it's just, you realize like the ocean stuff happens and it can be very tragic. But it's just part of the ocean. And yeah, I think every surfer just knows deep down inside that's just how it goes when you step into the ocean.
So how did you end up, I guess, becoming a shark advocate? Because people are thinking like, that's crazy. That was the thing that took something away from you, but now you're advocating for them.
Yeah, it was a bit of a slower process. I really got into photography after the attack. A lot of my friends were professional surfers at the time, and my coach would let me use his camera gear, and I started photographing them, and really fell in love with photography and applied for art school. For 4 years, I studied portraiture. My last year, you kind of got to really define what you want to do with your photography career. And my good friend Sparky, his wife, was a Roxy model, and he kept talking about how amazing her life was, traveling with these photographers to these exotic islands and shooting on the beach. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to shoot girls in bikinis. So I really studied how to shoot people, portraiture, and I majored in portraiture. And right after school, I got a phone call. A lady named Debbie Solomon from the West Coast, from the East Coast. And she was a shark attack survivor. I usually don't pick up numbers that I don't know. And she was just a random number, but something told me to answer the call. And Debbie was like, I was in a shark attack and I'm putting together a group of other shark attack survivors. If you want to lobby for shark conservation in Washington, DC. And I was like, shark conservation, what is that? I knew a heck of a lot of what sharks are doing to people like myself. I had no idea what we were doing to sharks. And she encouraged me to watch Shark Water. It's a documentary by Rob Stewart, and it was on YouTube. And I watched it that night and was absolutely blown away by what we were doing to sharks, the importance of sharks for healthy ocean, stuff I had no idea about. And there was something inside of me that just said to help. Like, if I love the ocean, I should do this. And I called her back the next day. I'm like, what can I do to help? And it was a week later, we were in the halls of Congress and speaking to senators, and we got the Shark Act of 2009 passed. It closed a lot of loopholes on shark fishing and shark finning. And I remember just kind of being intrigued by the political process of things and how different committees can forward bills, and you got your House and you got your Senate. And I thought it was really interesting and fascinating. And the next year in 2010, we had a bill here in Hawaii. I think it was chaired by Clayton He at the time. And I flew to Oahu and spoke up as a shark attack survivor, and I guess used my story and a bit of the irony of it to champion for the protection of sharks. And we were able to get that bill passed. It made the possession of shark fin soup in Hawaii illegal, contraband. Like, you had drugs. You couldn't sell shark fin soup. You couldn't have it in your home. You couldn't possess it in your vehicle. Completely illegal. We were the first state to do so. And soon after, other states followed. And we got that bill passed as well. And shortly after, I got invited to go on my very first shark dive. It was an island that's about the size of Niihau, that's off of the coast of Baja, California. It's about 240 miles offshore. And you take a boat 24 hours to get to this island. And at the time, I was working for Quicksilver. I was a staff photographer for them. I had this incredible underwater housing set up, and I had entered a surf contest, and I got second place, and I won. I think it was a GoPro Hero 2 or 3, no screen on the back. And for some reason, I just thought to bring that camera along on the trip. I don't know why, but I just brought this small little GoPro. And I remember the very first day leaving the port of Ensenada to go out to Guadalupe. It was my very first time on a big boat on a liveaboard. And we were still in the harbor, and they started serving us dinner on the boat. And they put on our plates, and oh yeah, we got great food, And the boat starts leaving port, and all of a sudden we get into the open water into the channel, and it got so rough, and the plates are swaying back and forth, and everybody started getting sick. And I had never gotten seasick before. I started feeling really sick, and everybody split when we went to our bunks, and basically slept for the next 24 hours going onto this island because it was so rough. Like, you couldn't really even get out of your bunk. And I remember, like, kind of in this sort of like dreamy state, hearing the anchor drop, and the time didn't know too much about boats, but knew that must mean we're here. And I got out of bed. Everybody else is still sleeping. The crew on the boats up, and they're setting the shark cage in the back in the water. And I was the first one out on the back of the boat where the cages were. And a guy was like, "You want to just jump in the water?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And it was just me, myself, my little Hero 3 camera, and got in the cage. And I remember, like, you're hooked up to this hookah system, and it's like the compressors on the boat, so you can stay under as long as you want. And it's just the bars are pretty wide open, and you got like this really good 360 view with nobody else in the cage. And I turned to my left, and the water clarity is so incredible that it's hard to even gauge how clear it is because there's just nothing there. It's just like this goes off into the deep blue. And look this way, and then I glanced to my right, and right there was a massive great white just inches away, and the bar felt like it was just hovering right like this so far away. And I just started screaming in my mask, screamed in the regulator, bubbles going everywhere. I run up to the top. I'm like, "There's a shark." And they just started laughing. They're like, "That's why you're here." And I spent it would have been the next 8 hours, it felt like, in that cage with my GoPro, and just click, click, click. And that evening, I took the memory card out of the camera and plugged it into my laptop and put it into an editing software program, and seeing my very first shark images, and was like, this is the most badass subject on earth. This is way cooler than shooting any girl in any bikini.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been my favorite subject. I think it's the ultimate muse. Sharks are, when you're underwater with them, you realize how beautiful they are, how elusive they can be. Certain species, you've got to go to the end of the world to find a photograph. Technically, they're very difficult as a subject for photography. They're fast, really hard to catch focus sometimes. You're got to worry about your gear, whether you're free diving, scuba diving. I really like the challenge of it. And I think that Hollywood's done an incredibly good job of demonizing a shark. And I try in my photography to offset that and to show sharks in a different way and use the portraiture techniques that I learned in college, photographing sharks. And I almost imagine like they're a human. And like the number one rule in shooting people is you always want the nearest eye in focus. So I will take my little focus square and the nearest eye on the sharks in focus. I compose it where you crop joints and different things on a person. Do that with sharks as well. And then I think most importantly, I try to look for, like, it's called anthropomorphism, finding a little bit of yourself in an animal, whether it's a smirk, a smile, some humor, where you can really see empathy. And I think if you can see a little bit of yourself in something, it makes you want to learn more about that subject. And by learning more about it, you want to protect it because you eventually love it. And that's really the goal of my photography.
That's insane. I'm like trying to understand it as best as I can. Yeah. Like, I mean, I get I get it, but I don't get it.
Okay, yeah.
Because, like, yes, they are beautiful creatures. Like, animals are beautiful, wildlife and all that. But, like, I can't imagine being up close to one. It's just like, I'd be so scared for my life.
Yeah. The very first thing I noticed is the eyes of a great white. Like, you see Hollywood films of great whites, it's always black death. The eyes are pitch black. There's no life in it. When you're underwater and the sun up high and it's beautiful visibility, you look in a great white's eye and it's got the most beautiful blue marble-like eye. And you can almost like you can see behind the eye and the intelligence and the soul and processing you and, sizing you up and all this intelligence going on in this. Sharks have been on Earth for 450 million years. They've been on Earth longer than trees and survived major mass extinctions, and most of Earth disappeared. They're the OGs of the ocean. You almost like can feel that energy when you're underwater with them.
Yeah. But okay, I don't like, how are you not scared when you're
so the safety part of it is I'm fortunate to have learned from the best in the world. There's a couple really do's and don'ts in shark diving. The number one thing is to dive in clear water and show a lot of eye contact. If the sharks, they're ambush predators and they like the element of surprise. If they know that you know that they're there, that makes sense. The energy level goes a lot further down. They swim slower. They're less likely to sneak up on you. Much easier to photograph. So really showing a lot of eye contact. You want to dive with a mask that's not tinted, it's not fogging, and you really let them know that you're looking at them. I would say that's the biggest, and to not dive in murky water, because then it's just kind of asking for trouble. And for photography, if you're photographing sharks, you want clear water anyways. You always want to make yourself look bigger. A lot of people that dive with sharks use big fins. There's a real social structure in sharks, and it puts you a little higher up and gives you a little bit more street cred underwater when you've got yourself looking a little bit bigger. And then not having shiny objects, not a lot of white. Ideally, it would be like a long arm, long leg, black wetsuit, maybe booties and gloves and a hood. You dive and your wetsuit ends here and you don't have gloves on. This looks like an octopus in a way, the way the light hits it. There's just little things that really help. I would say the biggest thing though is eye contact and keeping your head on a swivel, always turning around, looking always around you. It's not necessarily the shark that you're looking at, the shark that you're photographing. It's the other shark that you'd have to worry about. And it all varies where you are in the world, what species. Tiger sharks here in Hawaii behave much different than diving a tiger shark, say in the Maldives or the Bahamas. It's interesting just geographically where the same exact species are, how they have different temperaments.
That's a good lesson in life.
Yeah.
Right. For people as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Dang. So what about like, I see people like touching sharks and getting like super close. Kimmy Warner, she was on the podcast. She told a story about when like this big great white came to her and like she didn't get scared. She swam at it and then she was like riding it. Basically.
Yep. And that was in Guadalupe. That was at the same area. I don't suggest touching sharks for reasons obvious. There are times when sharks get really close and you've got to redirect them. And I usually am holding a camera, so it's not actually my arm; it's my camera that pushes them away.
Yeah,
I just get a little curious.
Like, use their hand too.
They just get a little curious sometimes. But I would suggest, overall not touching sharks. And you see a lot of stuff on social media, people redirecting sharks, and the majority of time you're diving with a shark, that's never an issue. It's just those make the highlight reels, and the algorithm likes that kind of stuff, so you see that. Whereas 99.9% of any time you're underwater with a shark, you're hoping it actually even gets close enough where you can get a photo that it's not way out in the distance, because most sharks are very skitterish.
So what happens if you notice them getting kind of like aggressive, or you feel a little off?
100% get out of the water. Yeah, I would go back on the boat. There's nothing really saying you need to be down there. There's no photo that's worth your life. And you can really tell behavior changes. It can be when another shark comes in the area, that some dynamic that you don't realize is going on between those two sharks. If there's something like, let's say, a dead whale in the water, and that can change dynamic as well. The current changes, it causes the visibility to change, those things. And it's not so much sharks swimming more erratically, but you'll notice things like the pectoral, the pectoral fins dropping, the body arching up. Like there's different little like things you can notice on sharks and the agitation, and then maybe their movements become more erratic.
Okay, I have so many questions. When I surf, I don't wear black shorts, because I remember hearing somebody, I don't know when I heard this, but they said like if you wear black or gray or something, they'll think you're like a monk seal or something.
Okay, no, I wouldn't. I would say
that's
false.
Okay.
There is a theory though on yellow, yum yellow. Yeah, I don't know why that color. I don't want any yellow. Yeah, that color seems to attract sharks for some reason.
Okay. Are there any things that we can do just like when we're in water to lessen our chances of like, besides wearing like you said the white or wetsuit?
I would say start with on the beach, like that day that I got attacked. That smell that was really foul. I should have taken that as a sign that there was something going on in the water that day, and trust that instinct. So maybe start with being on the beach, and just once everything feels right and you're in the water, not splashing a lot, not screaming, not going crazy, kind of more confident in your paddling would be the best. I've heard theories of always sort of moving around and left and right and not really sitting for a long time, because it may look like you're injured. And most animals, when they sit and they're not moving, they're injured. Okay. Most animals are always on the go.
What about the thing when I hear people like they're bleeding and they're like, okay, you gotta get out of water because the shark's going to be attracted to your blood?
Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
I guess it depends how much blood.
Okay.
I don't think a little bit of you cut yourself on the reef and it's I don't think it has any effect whatsoever on sharks, as they love fish blood, and human blood has been, through testing, they've realized sharks really aren't that into it.
Okay. Last time I went surfing with Jordan, we were at Rock Piles, and the lifeguard came over saying there's a bunch of shark sightings. and I just went in and I left him.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that a good friend or a bad friend?
It depends. It depends.
Sorry, Jordan. I was like, oh, I'm going in.
Yeah, and it depends what the species of the sharks, and there's just so many factors, and a lot of times sharks show up. How many times are we surfing? We don't see the shark.
Totally.
Probably every day, or every other day. There's a shark that's sort of nearby that, and it's really, I think, just people got drones, people got cell phones. That there's just a lot more people in the water. That there's just a lot more stuff that we see of shark sightings and beaches closed.
Yeah. Just more coverage as well.
Yeah.
One. I had another one. About I can't remember. I was gonna bring it up when I was surfing with Jordan. So say you find out there's a shark in the water. Is it just like pretend like nothing's going on, calmly go, or do you kind of want to get out as fast as you can, or you just like chill knowing that like this is there?
If it's obviously a great white or a tiger shark, I would leave the water. I would just paddle confidently and regular paddle to the beach. Not freak out. I would not paddle towards the shark. I would just sort of, and maybe try to keep an eye on. If the shark were to get really close, then maybe turn and face the shark. But just exit the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that really changed my perspective on not being afraid of like being in the water with sharks. I never was afraid. Yeah. But like it's always in the back of your mind every now and then. Every time I'm on a surfboard, my legs are just dangling for a while. There's no waves waiting for a set. I kind of like, look down or whatever. But I do love when learning that this is their home and we're just visitors. Almost like here in Hawaii, like when people come to Hawaii and we're always complaining about howlers and visitors, foreigners. We're like, oh, we get so irritated by them. Yeah. But we're howlers in the ocean. We're foreigners in the ocean and we're just like up in their space. So I don't think people really have that perspective, especially the people that kind of just like do whatever they want in the water and not even thinking, or they get annoyed by that.
Yeah. And even deeper than that, it's just their role in the ocean. Like, you love surfing, good surf spots have healthy coral reefs. Healthy coral reefs have a big shark population. You love to eat fish. A healthy fish population has a healthy shark population. So it's really beyond their home. It's everything in the ocean depends on their sharks being in there.
Okay. So, excuse me. At what point in your life or career did you realize that you could make this into a living? Like this will be your career. This is what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
I wouldn't really say like I do a lot of other types of photography. I'm a surf photographer and I don't really make like a direct living off shark conservation. I really feel like a sense of purpose that this is why I survived and what I should be doing in a way. I think it's amazing that it, in a way, it is part of my career and is just sort of like everything wrapped in my life is surfing, sharks, photography, the ocean. I feel very grateful for that in a way. But there wasn't really a certain like time or anything like that. It's just, it's been, I guess the shark world's been a part of my life that day in 97 when it took my leg off.
Yeah. But photography and just being in the water, that's your passion.
That's my passion. Yeah.
And you're able to do what you love for a living. And that's the greatest
I feel very grateful
thing ever. Yeah. Well, awesome. I'm so stoked for you.
Thank you.
What do you think the future of, shark conservation looks like?
That's a great question. I know the past 15, 20 years, a big issue for sharks has been shark fin soup. It's a delicacy in Asia. It really doesn't have much cultural significance in the history of Asia. It's only been on the menu for a very small time. It's got no nutritional value. It's really high in mercury. And upwards of 100 million sharks a year are killed for the soup, which is absolutely crazy, that number, 100 million a year.
And for a soup that has no nutritional value, right?
Yep. It's a status symbol. It's just showing your family's got wealth.
Is it like a caviar kind of thing?
Kind of, in a way, Yep. Exactly. And I think the demand for that is actually decreasing. A lot of people In some countries are trying to now hide their wealth in a way. They don't want to be audited by the central government. And also just some younger people on social media, a lot of their kids are saying, I don't want shark fin soup served at my wedding or my banquet or whatnot. So we're fortunate that is being decreased. One of the big threats of sharks is bycatch in the commercial fishing industry, and not the guys that are going out dragging lures behind a boat, but big longline vessels and big industrial operations. And it's a lot of it is for your poke bowl that you buy at a strip mall in Texas. Places that are really disconnected from the ocean need to get a lot of fish to meet their quotas for these restaurants, and sharks are incidental bycatch for a lot of these fisheries. I don't know the exact numbers. I know like in Hawaii, 80% of the oceanic white tips have been removed since the 80s from the longline industry. And I think if, so many people in Hawaii love fish, it's a, cultural thing. It's a huge source of protein, and to ask questions, and the freshest fish you can get is the most sustainable. The guy that, in the back of his truck, he's got his cooler and he's selling ahi. There's very little to zero bycatch in that end of sharks. And I would say support that as much as going to the big, box stores and the supermarkets and buying fish from there. That's caught a lot different of a way. And sharks are instantly killed along with seabirds and marine mammals and things like that. Really, you love fish, support your local fishermen.
Do you have a favorite poke bowl spot?
I don't. I've got a cousin. I've got a cousin that's got Kaua'i poke on Kaua'i, so I'll give him a shout out. Okay,
right on. Go check him out if you're over there. I haven't spent much time there, so I do plan to go later this year. Yeah. It's so fascinating. I feel like I have a million questions, but I feel like
we've got time.
I know this is such an interesting episode because yes, I'm a curious person, and as an interviewer, as a host, I feel like this is my job, but I feel like this like childlike curiosity is really coming out over here. I'm just like, what about this? What about this? What about this? How do you do this? So I'm trying to like find the balance in this episode. So it's so interesting, even just reflecting on myself as we're speaking. What I do want to know more about the other things that you do. Besides being in the ocean, because you are an author. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know that's not an easy thing to do. You told me it was about like a 2-year process.
Yep.
So what made you interested in doing that?
About 2.5 years ago, I was dating a girl, and she suggested I do a book on sharks with my photography. And I went online and I realized that there wasn't much done in the coffee table style of sharks. There's a lot of books, Sharks for Kids, science of sharks, but nothing really showing the beauty of sharks. And we went to Aloha Shopping Center and went to Barnes & Noble and looked at a bunch of coffee table books and sort of put together a short list of publishers to pitch an idea to. And it would have been a few weeks after that, I was at a cafe in Honolulu Town and saw my friend Danny Fuller, and he had just done a book. He's a photographer. And I started just chatting with and picking his brain about doing a book. And he was like, you got to talk to this lady, Martinka at Rizzoli. And Rizzoli was my number one on that list of book publishers. And Martinka, like, it rang a bell in my head. I'm like, Martinka. And it's like, wait a minute. I chatted, it would have been like 6 months or a year ago to Martinka. I had taken a photo of Kai Lenny, and he did a coffee table book on big wave surfing. And my photo ended up on the cover. And I had done a couple emails with her back and forth and about the image, and told Danny, I'm like, I think I worked with her before. I was like, I'm going to text her right now. And got on his phone, he texted Martinka, and she's like, have him call me on Monday. And I called her on Monday, and she's like, let's do this. And awesome. We, for the first year, it was really, what's the book going to be about? How big is it going to be? The physical size, how many pages? And then it got into the layouts, and that was a really fun process. I worked with this designer named Sue Barber. And for a few months, we just went back and forth creating PDFs of layouts. What images work well with other images, and I really enjoyed that process. I think that was the most fun time of creating a book. Was it's called pagination. It's how the book flows and what goes next after each page. And it would have been almost a year to the day that the FedEx guy came to my house and dropped off a box with the advanced copy. And opening the box and being able to hold something. You see something online and you've got these digital files and you post stuff on social media and everything it's not physical and it's not really, you're not holding a body of work, and be able to like hold that for the first time and smell that new book smell and everything. I was like, well, it kind of hit it home that I did a book, and
Proud moment.
and it's been really fun since doing talks on sharks and sharing my book and feedback. A lot of young kids, to them, it's like dinosaurs and they love sharks. And the purpose of my book is to really not show sharks in a scary way. It's very easy as a shark photographer in the era of social media to show sharks with their eyes rolled back, the jaws sticking out, ripping something apart. That goes viral and that gets views and hits and whatnot. Majority of time when you're underwater with a shark, you realize they're not doing that. They're just swimming peacefully by.
They're just cruising.
And I really try with the book to show very little jaws out, and most of the time just cruising with beautiful light, detail shots of their gill plates or their dorsal fin. Just really trying to show a real authentic side of sharks and really mitigate or balance that narrative that Hollywood has sold us for the last 30, 50 years.
Do you think a lot of the misconceptions and fear is mainly from Hollywood? Like, I don't want to like blame and point fingers, but
there's one word, Jaws. That's 100% what it is. Started with Jaws.
Before that, there wasn't.
The hysteria was much less, and I've heard stories of people that watched that movie literally that summer they wouldn't even go in a swimming pool. Crazy to think the fear was so heightened on sharks.
Dang,
Steven Spielberg did a really good job. Yeah,
he made a lot of money, but made a lot of people scared.
Yeah, and I saw recently on he did a interview in Europe, and for the first time said he regrets some of the things that Jaws has done for sharks.
But I feel like that could be said. Like, there's other like Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
Like, I feel like people aren't really afraid of apes, but do you think because we don't really see them and it's more like in an enclosed, if we do it's at a zoo, whereas sharks, they're just open water?
Exactly. And the ocean is deep and can be dark, and you really don't know when you walk into it. You can't see underneath. And any second, it's like the guy that's hiding, in the corner in the alley in the dark, in a way. And shark, I mean, you look at a great white underwater, it really looks like you're looking at a dinosaur. They look so prehistoric, and they're just their presence. It really can be felt, and you'll even hear divers underwater saying that they feel the energy of a big shark before they even see it.
I mean, that's what I think about a lot of animals too. I mean, because they evolved from dinosaurs. Like, even when I see chickens, I'm like, yo, that's like a dinosaur. You see their legs?
Well, you got to come to Kauai then.
Or go Panama on the Big Island.
Yeah.
But yeah, even lizards. Like, when I've seen little lizards, I'm like, you're a dinosaur.
Look at a centipede.
Exactly. Yeah. And then like the images of sharks, I'm like, we're looking at dinosaurs right now. Yeah. I don't know why they changed it to animal. An animal is a dinosaur, but they're just all dinosaurs to me. Yeah. No, it's really cool. You do such an amazing job at capturing the beauty of sharks. Because when I see it, I'm not scared. I'm just like,
that's sort of the goal.
It's like the beautiful disaster kind of idea of like, you see like lava or like something that's like a natural disaster, and it's captured with lightning, and it's scary, but then it's also has so much beauty and like calmness in a way.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't think I'll ever swim with sharks.
Really?
I don't think so.
Yeah. What if it was a species that's never been known to attack a human?
I don't know. I see like people in like, I don't know, is it Tahiti when they can like go and
more,
Yeah. I'm not afraid. That's the thing. I just like, I don't want to chance it.
Well,
like,
fair enough. Yeah.
The risk reward. I'm just fair enough. I say this as I'm going skydiving tomorrow. But yeah, because like I would do like the cage diving, like with a cage, but like I can't see a reason for me to do it without.
Okay. Yeah. Just trust that. It's not for everybody.
Yeah. But maybe that'll change. Maybe after learning more. Because I have a lot of friends that take underwater pictures and swim and dive, but I don't know what it is. Maybe I am scared and I don't want to admit it. Maybe this is me trying to deny it. Interesting. Something I'll reflect on. But we're going to take a quick shishi break and we're going to come back. We got some good social media fan questions. So we'll be right back. What if we told you the next 3 times you fill your tank, you could save money? Well, at Texaco in Hawaii, it's true. You can get $1 off per gallon on your next 3 visits when you download the Texaco app and join Texaco Rewards. Earn points on every fuel transaction and qualifying in-store purchases at participating Texaco stations. Download the app and join to get started today. Visit TexacoHawaii.com for details. All right, we're back from a quick shishi break. Let's get right into the social media fan questions. First question. You ready? This is a tough one, okay? Comes from Kendra.Brissy. This person says, is he single? LOL.
Sorta.
Sorta. Okay, whatever that means. We won't pry. Okay, next question comes from Whitey Kaua'i. This person says, if you couldn't monetize shark interactions via photography, would you still go swim with them?
Well, that's a really good question.
It made me reflect on everything I'm doing.
Yeah, but not to the extent I am.
Mm-hmm.
I feel when I have like a camera, I'm almost like a journalist in a way, and feel a need to tell some of these stories that haven't been told to sharks.
Yeah.
If I wasn't into photography, I would be shark diving probably a lot less. I just really enjoy the process of capturing sharks and showing sharks and sharing to the world sharks. The whole process just fascinates me.
Yeah. Reading this question made me just reflect on like everything in life. Yeah. I was like, would you be doing things if you weren't getting paid for certain things?
Yeah.
And I think the difference between us is we do what we love.
Yeah.
And if we just happen to be able to monetize that.
But I mean, if it wasn't monetized and I still had the chance to photograph sharks, I would do it every single day for the rest of my life. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. That's how I feel about everything that I'm doing. It's like, I would still be doing this like as a passion project, maybe not as seriously, but I thought it's really cool that we get to do what we love and make a living
very grateful.
Yeah. Super blessed. Okay. Next question comes from 808 Under the Sea. This person says, is there a few go-to edits other than cropping and color corrections that you usually do?
Ooh, that's a really good question. When I'm editing a selection of shark images, I often think of that day and what it looked like underwater, where the light's coming from and everything. And I will, like in Lightroom, you've got gradient filters. So I'll make it a little bit more pronounced of where the light's coming from, where the shadows are falling. And I'll do a little bit of those tweaks. I love adding a little bit more light to the eyes. The really well-known artist here in Hawaii, Wyland, I watched a documentary on him, and he says when he paints these huge murals of whales, of dolphins, he spends the most amount of time on the eyes. It's where the life is of the animal, and I try to do that with sharks as well. So I'll try to brighten the eyes, really, so you can kind of, and when you're underwater with them, you sort of see that anyways. You really see the light in their eyes. Another thing is sometimes there's little small particles in the water and things like that. I'm a real minimalist. If it doesn't tell us part of the story in the image, it doesn't really need to be there. So if there's a little speck or a little piece of sand or water spot on your dome port, if you're doing like above and below, I'll remove that, as long as you're not like changing the integrity of the image. And that's really it. Color correcting is the biggest thing. Fortunately, like great whites, they have a underbelly that's white, so you can base your color temperature off what should be white. But that's also the trickiest part, is white balance for underwater. Any underwater photographer, they'll say that it's getting accurate, true colors.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more, check out the book.
Thank you.
By Mike Coots. These images are amazing. This might be the heaviest book you ever hold, by the way. It's a workout.
Yeah, right.
But I guess it's perfect for a coffee table. Look, I want to try to see an image. Look at all the lighting here. Well, do you have a favorite image in this?
My favorite image is probably the last photo in the book. It's a great white sticking its head out of the water. It was taken with a GoPro in New Zealand years ago. And I think it adds a bit of humor. It's a kind of a funny image and makes people chuckle and makes people laugh. And I think, it's pretty untraditional to look at a shark and laugh. But it's that image.
Yeah, right over here. And sorry, where did you say it's at?
That's on the South Island of New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Yeah.
Nice. It does look kind of funny.
Yeah.
Meme worthy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, well, go check it out. Learn more about his photography. Thanks for sharing that advice. Great question. 808 under the sea. Next question comes from one French roamer. This person says, what has been your biggest achievement? What's your next personal aim/goal?
My next personal aim/goal would be to make another book on great whites that's in black and white. And it would be more detail shots, a little bit more abstract, and a little bit more on the fine art side.
Oh, okay.
I would really love to do that. And that's my next big goal.
How many photos do you think you have if you just had to put a rough
my Lightroom catalog between surfing and sharks is over 1 million images in my Lightroom catalog. But I've been doing this for not sharks, but water photography for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Shooting almost every day in to some capacity.
That's crazy.
So quite a bit. Yeah.
You ever think you're gonna like do something with those, or they just kind of?
I don't know. Sometimes it's fun when friends have birthdays, and I take my printer and I'll make a custom birthday card with an image that is 10 years back on the wave of their life or whatever, some beautiful sunset on the beach that they've totally forgot about that memory. And I'm excited with the new AI features. Like in your phone in photos, you can type in like bird, and every photo that you've taken, you'll start seeing bird pictures that you've shot. And it's really good at pulling up stuff because I'm not the best at cataloging. How do you say that word? Cataloging things. Yeah. And in the future, I can really see that helping a lot, where I can even put in just a person's face. My friend Jesse, it's his birthday. This is what he looks like. It'll go through my entire 1 million images and pull out the 200 that I took of him, and then I can make his birthday card with that.
That's cool. Wait, that's on
it's phone? On your phone right now. Yeah.
Let's try to do that right now.
I just actually did it yesterday for birds.
So you go to your photos?
Yeah, go to your photos and the search. Just type in dog or type in art, and it'll take every picture that you've taken of a piece of art. I think it's a newer.
Let's go podcast. Oh, that might be kind of niche. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah.
Or maybe like white t-shirt or.
Okay, white t-shirt. White t-shirt. I didn't realize there's a search bar on the bottom.
Crazy,
right.
Yeah, crazy.
It's searching.
Or pasta and every food thing that's a pasta dish.
Okay, let's go pasta.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, 11 photos. That's so cool. Hey, you learn something new every day. Okay, cool. That's a cool life hack. I didn't realize that. That's so helpful because I'm also looking for things. Now I know I can just search them.
So it really helped me. I learned about this is when we were talking about skydiving, I went to go skydive and you need to have your ID. And I never got the memo that we needed to have IDs. And I showed up to the skydive place ready for you about to jump. I didn't have my ID. And they're like, you can't skydive. And then one of the ladies was like, do you think you took a photo of it? I'm like, I don't have thousands of photos of my phone. I'm never going to be able to find it. And she's like, type in ID. I typed in ID and it came right up.
No way.
And I went skydiving.
That's a good hack also to keep have a picture of your passport ID because I just favorite it.
Okay.
So I just go to my favorites. Yeah. That's happened one time or a couple times where I needed my ID and I just happened to have it, so it works out. Okay. Same person also asked, do you know someone on Reunion Island that could help launch? I'm sorry. That's a follow-up question. How do you think is the best way to raise awareness about shark protection?
Man, that's a great question. If it's for yourself as an individual, I believe everybody's got their own skill set. If you're a good writer and love sharks, write opinion editorial pieces about sharks. You're really social, create social shark clubs. I think just kind of do a little inward looking and see where your talents are and try to align that with your love for sharks and run with it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for the advice. And then follow-up is, do you know someone on Reunion Island that could help launch such project? How can we implement that on Reunion Island?
I don't. And I know Reunion Island, fortunately, the last few years, the shark attacks there have leveled out. But for a few years, there was a lot of human and shark incidences, including some fatalities. Nobody really knows why. There's different ideas of there's a marine protected area, so there's more fish in the water. A lot of the attacks happened by rivers, and there was a lot of construction going up the river with a lot of debris coming down, all bull sharks. And and I think surfing was even prohibited. It's owned by the French government, and the French government said that you weren't allowed to surf for a couple of years. And you can imagine being a surfer on an island and not being able to paddle out. Pretty crazy. But fortunately, the shark attacks there have really mellowed out.
Okay. Yeah, when I was on Madagascar on this island called Saint Marie off of it, I met this guy from Reunion Island. He was a boogie boarder. That's how we connected. I ended up staying at his place and whatnot. And yeah, they have a huge surf culture over there. Yeah.
Good waves.
Good waves, yeah. You ever thought about going to Madagascar?
No, I'd love to.
Yeah. There's some crazy underwater life over there. Yeah. And it's just like, it's one of the most beautiful places, but not a lot of people know about it. Because it's like, you just think it's a cartoon movie.
Diving, there's a lot of parallels in surfing. Like you go and travel to these remote places trying to find the ultimate waves and the best waves and good tubes. And in diving, there's certain places in the world you're just like, where am I? This is the most insane the amount of biodiversity and biomass on the reef, and seeing huge oceanic mantas 1 second and dolphins swimming right up. Like it's just, there's some places in the world that are just next level, incredible underwater. Yeah.
When I was diving, we dove with whale sharks at this island called Nusi Bay off Madagascar. And that was my first time seeing whale sharks. And they also had this, I don't know what kind of turtles they're called, but they're basically like dinosaur turtles. They look like dinosaurs to me. Because, coming from Hawaii, you're like, oh, we're going to go swim with turtles. Like, wow, so exciting.
Yeah, right.
And then I saw them with them, like, they're huge. Yeah.
I wonder what species it was.
I can't remember. Maybe I'll go look it up on my phone, and I'll show you after this. But yeah, super cool. The underwater world is so amazing. I was never an ocean guy. I was a land sports guy my whole life. So only in the last couple of years I got into the ocean with like surfing and stuff. But it's the closest thing we can get to flying. I feel like you're just weightless.
Totally.
It's like, what is the statistic? Like only 10% of the world's ocean is explored or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and even like the deep sea, we know so little. I mean, we know more about the planets and the moon and the stars than what's on the bottom of the ocean.
It's crazy. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if in Atlantis was
like a megalodon showing up.
Right? Yeah. No, I love watching the like Discovery Network, National Geographic stuff on it. Yeah, super cool. Okay. Same person asked, what would be your advice for someone who's scared to be back on a board because of attacks on Friday?
That's a bit of a tough question, because I just think everybody's, as in, maybe try answer, say the question again.
What would be your advice for someone who's scared to be back on a board because of attacks on Friday, but we can say just because of shark attacks?
Like, just trust your inner, whatever it is. If it's saying that, now's the time to get back in the water. If you don't feel like it, don't push anything. I think just to really trust that your inside, your north compass of what you should be doing. That's a really tough question though, because everybody's different, and everybody's got their own level of what they're comfortable with the ocean, with sharks. But just really trust those inner thoughts. Yeah.
Follow your gut feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question comes from Patreon. Comes from Kaua'i. This is a fun question. What is your favorite question you're asked?
Well, my favorite question, it's cheesy, but it's what I can do to help sharks, because that's really the purpose of what I do, is to inspire others to want to help. So that's my favorite question, because it means people are motivated and interested and curious and wanting to help and make a difference.
Cool. And the other end, what is your least favorite question you get asked?
My least favorite question to get asked. What kind of camera you use? It's like asking, the chef after your great meal at the restaurant what kind of pots and pans he uses. It's not really
That's a good comparison. Yeah. What kind of camera do you use?
Canon.
Right on. Well, holla everybody for the social media fan questions. Make sure you leave some for our next guest, and maybe your question will make it on the podcast. Okay, so at this point, I like to ask all of my guests a similar question about Aloha, and keeping it Aloha because it's the name of the show. So I like to know, in your life, how do you keep it Aloha?
Oh, I think, well, firstly, I think Aloha has defined really like the essence of giving without expecting anything in return. The kokua with no strings attached. Um, you've got your talents to help your neighbor with those talents. It's like you're mowing your yard and the auntie across the street, her yard hasn't been mowed for a month because she's been sick, and you go over there and you mow her yard. You don't expect anything in return. I think really that is the essence of Aloha, and and it's not necessarily like you're kuleana. It's just more you want to help, and I find that people that like to help are usually the happier people in life. And I think Hawaii is Hawaiian people really like to help. And it's been, there's been negative things over the years of people taking advantage of that. But I really think it's like ingrained in the people of Hawaii to want to help.
Yeah, we're a giving culture. Yeah. And I mean, me personally, I get so much joy from giving. It's one of my love languages to give. I don't like, I don't care about receiving, but giving, like that's like one of my top love languages. And it's funny because like being selfless sometimes comes with selfishness and self-interest, because like, yes, I'm doing this because I want to help, but then it also makes me feel good. And in a way that's like self-interest, so it's weird.
Great
but
question.
That's a great way. A great way of keeping it Aloha is just give, don't expect anything in return. Kokua.
And I've got friends that have barely any money in their bank account, yet they're at the beach cooking food, and the person that comes out of the water, it's like, you hungry, go make a plate. Like just giving to the very last of what they have. Just give.
Yeah, I think you don't need a lot to give. You give what you can.
Exactly.
And I've mentioned it multiple times on the podcast, is like one of the most inspiring things I've seen in life is when I was in Madagascar amongst the Malagasy people, and they're one of the poorest people in the world. They always give. They always offered food. They always smiled. Invited strangers in just to like hang out and feed you.
Or just, lending an ear. And Tutu wants to talk about what it was like growing up, back in the day, and just sitting there and listening.
Yeah, totally. Are you really close with your family?
I am. Yeah, very close.
Because you have a huge family.
Yeah, very close.
Who would you say you're closest to?
Probably my mother. Yeah, my mother. My grandmothers. Some cousins. Yeah, my sister. Okay. Yeah, very close family. Yeah.
How was it growing up culturally? Like from a big family, but a blended family. But in Hawaii, we have a diverse array of people, but a lot of times in different groups, I don't know how it is on Kaua'i, but you can feel like out of place sometimes. And there's different levels, even me coming from a Hawaiian immersion school, like to normal people, I'm just like, oh yeah, you're like the super Hawaiian guy. But over there, I'm just like, I feel more Asian amongst all these people, because there's like different levels. And like, I felt more insecure about like, I wish I was like a little darker so people would see me as like more Hawaiian and stuff like that.
I had a bit of a tough like childhood in the elementary days. A lot of my class was only a white kid. Went to an elementary school where my uncle was the principal, and I'm the only white kid in the class. And there was days and weeks where just every day I get beat up just because I was white. And then I think as I got older and older, and really it was the day I graduated high school, it felt like everybody that kind of, that was like, it was difficult times with, just because of the color of our skin, like instantly it's almost like it's an initiation or something. As soon as we graduate and got a diploma, they all become like your good friends. And see it, I see everybody to this day, and it's like, you feel almost closer in a way. It sounds really strange. But it was tough growing up as a kid, being white and being skinny. And, but you just, I don't know, it makes you thick skin in a way. I can really, like, I can read people really well. And, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's just part of upbringing, but then coming back home and it's like, I'm surrounded by a Hawaiian stepdad and listening to Hawaiian music every day and eating Hawaiian food, and then going to school and feeling so, it was like this kind of these two different worlds in a way.
Yeah, Sam Potter shared a little bit about that, how he was like one of the only white kids at his school. He'd get beaten up and stuff like that. I'm I'd like to think we've come so far past that
Yeah.
in Hawaii. I mean, in the world, there's just so much craziness going on.
Mhm.
I mean, the president almost just got assassinated
Yeah.
not too long ago. But here, I feel like we do have Aloha,
Mhm.
and I think with social media that helps
Yep.
because I feel like that kind of forces people to be more accountable
Yeah.
and not be a terrible
Yeah.
person
Yep.
because somebody's gonna film
Film
you
you.
and you're
Yeah.
gonna get
Yep.
canceled.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think about the kids growing up these days
Yeah.
with all of that and how different it was like during our
But
times.
then you also learn like a lot of respect. Like there was times as a kid, certain guys are out surfing and we're, wanting to go surf and the waves are good, but we just stay on the beach and let the uncles surf. And we're making bonfires on the beach and waiting for them to come in. And as soon as they come in, then we paddle out. Just, being a young surfer or whatever your skin color when you were young on the island, you really learned respect. And being such a small community, I really learned like not to talk bad about other people, that it'll always come back. Like it's such a small island. So you learn like some really good like life skills from living in a really small community.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever live anywhere else?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's home.
If you had to, where would you choose?
Ooh, New Zealand. New Zealand's a little cold, but it's incredibly beautiful, and the people are amazing, and it's an incredible country. Yeah.
What would you think you'd be doing if you weren't doing what you're doing now?
If I could handle people at their worst, in trouble, I'd love to be a lifeguard, but I can't. I don't like blood and I don't like all that, but I would love to be a lifeguard. I just be able to help people at the beach. I think is pretty cool. Yeah, I would love to be a lifeguard. I would love to be a bird photographer.
Really?
I'd love to be up in Kaua'i. I was thinking about this the other day. I met with some really well-versed bird people, and just there's species up there that are going extinct as we speak, and to be able to photograph the very last of their, it's very sad, but to be able to just really capture the essence of them. And I'm not a big hiker, but if I could get airlifted in and hang out for a week and just shoot these beautiful mountain birds, I think that'd be pretty cool.
That's cool. Do you know what the word is for like people who love birds?
No.
Okay. I was randomly thinking about it a little while ago, but I never looked it up.
Okay.
Because I heard somebody told it to me before, but random question. Yeah. Okay. So with all that you're doing and all that you've already accomplished, and you're even going to do a lot more, I'm sure. What are you most proud of?
Most proud of getting young kids stoked on sharks. Getting them wanting to be biologists, wanting to help protect sharks, and just like firing that stoke with the youth on wanting to protect our oceans. It's a bit unfortunate because all the mistakes that my generation, people older than me, are really going to affect them when they get to be older, and it's not really their responsibility to clean up after us, but it is going to affect them in a way. And to see them want to take on some initiative to really, protect our oceans, that I think is my biggest gift, and that stokes me out the most.
Do you feel like everybody should care about sharks?
Yeah, in some sense. You live on land, and it's like, what is it? Every other breath you take comes from oxygen produced in the sea. We don't have sharks in our ocean. Our oceans will collapse. As like keystone species, are incredibly, in fact, like vitally important for the health of our oceans. Our oceans collapse, our entire planet collapses. There's not really many species in the world that you can say that hold that much weight to the health of planet Earth. And it's crazy that they've been demonized for so long, yet they're so intrinsically, I can never say that word, valuable for the health of every single living being on planet Earth.
When is Shark Week every
Shark Week is usually, I think it just ended, maybe yesterday or the day before.
Okay.
It's mid-July.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do anything?
I've done stuff with Shark Week. I don't have TV. I don't really watch Shark Week. There's part of me that loves it because I know it stokes out a lot of the younger shark fans and makes them want to learn more about sharks. It's very sensationalized, and a lot of their programming just really is sort of half truths and doesn't really reflect the scientific community. It's more just for getting views and getting eyeballs to watch it. So it's got good and bad, and It's what it is. It's Shark Week, which is crazy because we were talking earlier, like talking yesterday, coconut falling from trees kill 10 times more people than sharks every year, at least. And you don't see Coconut Week,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard all kind of different statistics.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
you're more likely to
Vending machine and
vending machine to fall and you struck by lightning or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just a sensationalization of it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a random question. I just thought. I think you might like it.
Okay.
If sharks could talk, what do you think they would say to us?
Ooh, I'm much softer on the inside.
They're like big giants, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
Real soft, cuddly.
Yeah.
And what would you say back?
I'm trying.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, there's also that question that people ask, like, if you could have a meal with anybody, dead or alive, like, who would you choose? I feel like you'd choose a shark.
Yeah, I did watch the Bob Marley documentary on a recent flight.
Oh, really?
It would maybe be Bob Marley.
Bob Marley?
Yeah.
Wait, is that the movie that came out?
Yeah.
How was it?
It was really well done. Yeah. Like everything about it was really well done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you choose Bob Marley over everyone?
He just seemed like such an interesting person in a very. You watch the movie and you realize like the political time of Jamaica, when he was sort of at the peak of his, before even like global stardom, but just when he was a huge Jamaican icon in Jamaica and what was going on between the two opposing parties. And it's almost like what's going on in America now. And like, but the division was so strong and there was violence and telling him not to do concerts. And he really thought music would unite everybody in the entire country. And then he became a global sensation. And the last few years of his life, going back to Jamaica and really trying to unite all the people. I mean, it was like a very violent time in Jamaica. I think this was like the early 80s, and bringing up on stage the two opposing political parties, holding hands, singing songs together. I mean, there's not many, I don't know, it's just crazy that he could do that. It'd be like if a musician could get Biden and Trump on stage holding hands, singing to, the country. Like, it's just,
singing Kaua'i Aloha.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Seems like you're pretty interested in like the political side of things. Right?
I mean, it's just, it kind of goes with the I think it's just an interesting facet of democracy is how things work and how laws are made and how laws are enforced. And it's interesting.
Something that a lot of people don't realize how it works too.
Yeah.
Would you ever run for anything?
I think maybe on a local level, like county council in Kaua'i, you get to, I don't know, you start running for bigger off. Just seems like no matter what's going on, good or bad, people just hate you. And I got thin skin in that sense. But maybe on a really small county level, I would love to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if he does, make sure you guys vote. Yeah. All right. So just because I brought it up earlier and it just happened recently as we're recording this, like how crazy was that assassination?
I know, right?
Right?
Yeah. Crazy. I mean, absolutely crazy. Like it's all out of a like crazy movie novel. Like you can't really like it's just crazy.
Yeah, I talked with some people and I just see stuff online. I'm sure there's gonna be many conspiracy theories, but the fact that it even happened, that somebody was even allowed to get a shot off, is what's crazy.
Exactly, and somebody that's not a professional sniper, that it was a 20-year-old, basically, just right out of high school. Get that close to somebody that's that important to, pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I think there's some failures of Secret Service.
Totally. Or it could have been like an inside job, because I hear like there's drones and everything and there's a sniper that's looking out. So like he shouldn't even have been able to get to that roof, which just makes it interesting. But also like the, I don't know if you saw this, somebody was showing me yesterday. There's like a graph or something of how Trump had his head. And he turned at the last to look at the pointing at something, and if he didn't do that, it would have went straight to his brain.
Pretty crazy. And I guess the guy had like explosives in his car, and they were trying to figure out why. And it sounded like he had a detonating device on him, and where he was going to shoot from, people were alerted to that and started going. He was going to detonate his car to distract and have everybody go to the vehicle, explosion, and then he would have taken a shot as a distraction.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's been like two presidents assassinated.
I think it's
or
been like
something?
40 some odd years since it's been attempted. I think it
Yeah,
was Reagan was the last time.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
In the 80s.
see, you know, people posting about like we need to come together, we need to be more connected, can't be
Yeah.
divided.
Yeah.
It's something like Biden called Trump too. He's like very
Mhm,
grateful
mhm.
about that. It's just that with those two in leadership right now, or I guess Trump
Mhm.
was before Biden, it's just making me want somebody totally different and young.
I think that's the majority of the entire population of America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like you can't be 70 or 80 years old
Mhm.
leading the country.
Yeah.
It's the most important job in the world. I mean,
And just in general
yeah.
politics, I wonder why
Yeah.
politicians are so old. There's not that many young politicians.
There's no term limits, I guess, or age limits.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't drive a car, I don't think you can be.
Yeah.
They should have some sort of rule.
Yeah,
Right?
but yeah. It just seems like a lot of the powerful people in the country and in the individual states are very old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what would you do to change it if you could do anything?
I think there should be term limits.
Yeah.
I think even for the Supreme Court, there should be term limits.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you get that much power, that power can be corrupted, obviously, and like even with the Supreme Court justices of finding out that people are buying them, trips on yachts and paying for their kids' college funds and things like nothing in life is free. Like those people that are buying are trying to get influence of whatever they want from that Supreme Court justice. And I think too much time. And I've heard the opposite, that it's good to have politicians that are in a long time because they know how the government works and how to pull strings and get things done. But I think there should be term limits.
What about age limits?
Yeah, and age limits as well, or cognitive tests and things like that. Yeah. I mean, just if you shouldn't have a driver's license to be driving a car, you shouldn't be, making big decisions for a lot of people.
What about in Hawaii? Do you follow Hawaii politics?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest issue right now?
I think kind of the same thing. I think a lot of stuff is done behind closed doors. I think a lot of on the state level that lobbyists are really getting access to a lot of policymakers, and I think it's hidden pretty well, and it's legally can be done, and I think that needs to change. That the lobbying laws should be changed. I don't know. It just seems crazy that you can basically buy laws if you have enough money and change legislation, whether it's in the food industry or agricultural industry or whatever it is, tourism industry, that you can make these huge, big decisions because you have deep pockets, and you can basically buy politicians, and it's legal in Hawaii into some context.
Yeah, well, there's like loopholes.
Exactly, loopholes. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I think the wildest thing to me is sometimes when these new policies or bills come up, and it just makes so much sense for the people, like what Brenton Awa is doing. I'm a big Brenton Awa fan, and it just gets shut down.
Yeah, like what is he trying to make, like a food forest on the side of the road?
Well, I think something as simple as like every district should, or every council member, whatever, they should plant a food tree in their district, and that was denied.
Yeah.
And then he just goes and does it anyway.
But like the side of the road, the food fight, that makes total sense. It's like, why would you not do that? I think in the school system it'd be incredible, and there's been talk of this, of having a centralized kitchen, and they get produce from local farmers, local ranchers. They get the proteins and fishermen, and these. The centralized food kitchen has all the permits to make kids lunches, and then it goes to all the public schools instead of importing everything from the mainland and all that waste. And we're not only we're supporting our local farmers, and our I think that's a win-win for everybody, and they have a steady income knowing that kids are going to be going to school, and they can sell their produce to the schools and sell their whatever it is.
That's a great idea. And if they subsidize farmers, and
exactly, and
it would incentivize more people to become farmers, right?
Absolutely,
and be more
and then we have a major natural disaster. We've got much more infrastructure. We're not relying on the boats coming in.
Yeah. See, and that's why you should vote for Mike Coots 2025. Sponsored by Keep It Alive. Yeah, no, I follow it enough where like I have a surface level understanding of it. I see what's going on. I wouldn't be able to, be the one to say what we should do to change. But sometimes like it really just seems common sense.
Yep.
For some of these policies, and it just doesn't happen.
I would like to give a shout out to Civil Beat. I think they do
Civil
an incredible job of really shining light on a lot of dark issues in Hawaii. And I'm sure a lot of politicians are uneasy with Civil Beat doing all this investigative reporting. But I think, the state needs it. It needs accountability of politicians.
What do you think is the biggest issue in Hawaii?
Oh, easily would be the housing situation, at least on Kaua'i. 100% is housing.
It's really bad on Kaua'i too.
Yeah.
A lot of houselessness, homelessness?
No, just people not being able, workers that work at a hotel, work at a restaurant, can't afford to pay the going rate of rent because there's just no available properties to rent. Sending a lot of people that are born and raised on island having to move to Las Vegas or having to move to somewhere on the mainland because they can't afford rent here, or they can't even find a place. Or you've got a family and you've got a dog and not one person wants to rent from you because they've got a list of 100 people that are one person that'll pay X amount of money. It's just very competitive. And it's just, I think it's really driving out a lot of people. And I think housing is number one. Yeah.
Are there a lot of people moving to Kaua'i?
And during COVID, we did. Definitely during COVID, it was a lot of people from Silicon Valley. It was from the Apple and the Facebook and that. It seems like it's really tapered off since COVID. And I think a lot of people actually have left the island because remote working is now requiring people to work in office. But during COVID, definitely saw a big uptick in people moving, especially to the North Shore of Kaua'i.
What is the general consensus or thoughts and feelings about like Mark Zuckerberg?
It varies who you ask. It really he's an easy scapegoat for a lot of people. I don't know him personally. I've talked to him on social media a couple times. I know he loves sharks and he's a bit of a shark fan, but I don't know him personally, so I don't really know. Yeah,
I know he's into jiu-jitsu too, and UFC and all that stuff. Yeah, and surfing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel like there's so much going on within our generation, and I'm really excited to see what happens in the future with all these things that we're talking about. With shark conservation, culturally, the housing crisis, all of that. Yeah, I do feel like you do pretty well in office.
Well, I could say the same for you, and thank you for giving a voice.
I would never.
Why is that?
I just feel like I can make change in other ways.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't like I know a lot of it is a stigmatization of it, of like the, how we view politicians and stuff like that. I don't want to be roped into that. Yeah. As in like, oh, look, he's just another guy who turned into a crooked politician. I just feel like I do feel like this platform alone. Yeah. And I have a nonprofit, an agriculture nonprofit. I feel like those avenues are meant more
that's your
for
talent
me,
and that's
and
your
I
calling.
have more control.
I
just feel like same like I don't drink, I don't do drugs, just because I want to be in control of my actions at all times. And I feel like that's a big part where like being an entrepreneur, like I get to choose when I wake up, I get to choose when I work. I just feel like I love that freedom, that autonomy. So I think that's the biggest reason. I feel like if I do go into politics, in a way, I would be at the mercy of others.
Yes.
And you are a community servant. You are a civil servant, which I love serving people and like helping the community. But I just feel like that's not the right way for me to do it. Yeah. People tell me like, you should run for office. No. I don't think so. I just feel like there's other ways. Yeah. Do you feel like you similar to that,
I think it's just some of the issues at home, like it really feels like this common sense. If you just did this, and I think that would be really the reason why on a local level is to make change and make impact for the residents of the island. But anything bigger than that, I don't know. And I really enjoy what I'm doing right now.
Same.
Very much so.
Yeah, I just feel like sometimes if it feels futile, like seeing Brenton do all that stuff and just constantly get denied.
No.
But what he's really doing is just like inspiring others. He's planting trees,
and it's going to be the next generation of policymakers, or he's going to starting a new trend that doesn't always have to be how it's been done in the good old boy network.
exactly. So in that sense, yes, it would be cool if like people like us are like, we know we're pure hearted. We
Mhm.
come with Allah. We don't
Yeah.
have any ulterior
Yeah.
motives, and we won't be corrupt.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, we just need more people like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I support you and other
Oh,
people
thank
doing
you.
that, but I feel like I can just keep doing this, building this
Yep.
platform and giving people
Yep.
voices
Yep.
or elevating people's
Yep.
voices. So I think that's the goal. Yeah. Speaking of goals, what is your 5, 10, 20-year?
5-year would
Yeah.
be the black and white shark book.
Mm-hmm.
10 years, I would love to do actually more shark research and using basically like you can create an AI program that you can take photographs underwater of sharks and it catalogs them, and would love to do that every single day on a boat somewhere in the world and catalog sharks and create data sets using artificial intelligence.
Wow.
And would also love to help create a device that mitigates shark attacks or reduces shark attacks using things like drones on top of lifeguard towers and eye in the sky, and creating like AI programs that alert the lifeguards if there is a shark in the area by having drones fly, let's say 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. when the lifeguard's on duty. He can set the parameters of notify me anything that's bigger than 6 feet or 8 feet, or even be able to identify the species. Only let me know if great whites and tigers are in the area. And then it alerts the lifeguard, and the lifeguard is able to pick up his walkie-talkie and talk into the walkie-talkie, and the drone's got a speaker and lets people in the water know there's a shark in the area and to come in, and the shark leaves, and everybody gets using technology to really help mitigate shark attacks.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It's becoming a thing.
Okay.
And then even longer term goals would to buy a house one day, build a house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What about family?
And have a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want kids?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on the fence with that.
Mhm.
More so, probably not. I'd like to have a dog.
You don't have any pets out right now?
No pets.
Okay, never had?
Never had.
Okay.
Like girlfriends have had dogs, parents have had dogs. Never myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We interviewed Kelly, who I think probably 2 episodes ago.
Yep.
And she said not having kids, not being married is the best financial decision she's ever made.
Yeah.
And she loves her life.
Yeah.
And I've also talked openly about not wanting kids.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that could change in the future.
Yeah.
I think as men, we know.
It
It
can
could change our.
It is
our
nice
mind.
to have the freedom to be able to travel and drop and go, and
Yeah. Where's the place that you haven't been that you'd like to go?
I would love to go to Norway and see
Oh.
the Northern Lights. Dive with orcas there.
Oh, cool.
Seems like an incredible country. I would love here in Hawaii to go to Papahanaumokuakea, the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. It's pretty tough to get out there, but would love to see that part of the state.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know Norway had like a
They have orca. Yeah, northern.
ocean culture, I guess.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's because it's so north. Their winters, there's literally no daylight. It's similar to Iceland. I
It's
get
just dark the whole time?
Yeah, Iceland's very similar.
Oh.
Yeah. I've gone
Dang.
surfing in Iceland a few times. I get my prosthetics made there, and I go in the summer where the sun really doesn't set. It's crazy. It goes to the horizon and goes right back up and stays light 24 hours a day.
I've heard of stuff like that. Even in Alaska, right?
Yep, even Alaska.
That's trippy.
Yeah.
I remember going to like Washington when I was in college because my friend was at UW and like seeing sun out at like 9 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
It's so trippy.
Yeah.
I heard in Iceland they eat whale, right? Like
they do. Yeah.
Blubber?
Yep. They do.
Is that a thing that people are fighting against? Same with shark fin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. There's nonprofits that are really trying to urge the Icelandic government to stop whaling, and I think it's actually working. I know it's part of their culture. I've seen whale on the menus in restaurants there. You can, I think, even buy whale at the airport at the gift shops. But I do know there's a big push to try to have them stop whaling. I took a private little like Cessna plane over one of the whaling sites in Reykjavik. It was pretty crazy to see.
Yeah. What is the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh, that's a good question. Weirdest thing I ever eat. I'm a picky eater.
You're a picky eater?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I traditionally just eat just regular. Yeah, nothing super exotic. Nothing comes to my head. It's not good.
Alligator, beetles,
Yeah,
or grasshopper.
no.
What is the best thing you've eaten?
Gosh, what's something really good that I've eaten lately? There's a restaurant in Kaua'i called Fish Bar Deli.
Mm-hmm.
They make everything from scratch, and they've got a buttermilk chicken that's incredible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely incredible.
Nice. That sounds good. Buttermilk. Anything buttermilk I love.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you do outside of everything that you do? What are your other hobbies?
I love running the beach. Love swimming laps in the ocean. Love reading books when I have time. Working on my truck. Wrenching on my truck. That's the
local boy right there.
Yeah, wrenching on my truck. Love printing, doing fine art pieces. Love traveling and seeing other parts of the world, even if it's not diving, just visiting other cultures and eating different restaurants, different foods.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love how your answer was basically what you're
yeah.
Like, what do you do out of
beach
the other
run.
things that you do? Pretty much just similar to what you already do.
Yeah.
But I think that's the best answer, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like
when you don't need a vacation from your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what everybody should strive for.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Okay, what is one thing you wish people knew about you that they don't?
Afraid of heights.
I just learned that.
Yep, afraid of heights.
Where does that fear come from?
I don't know. It's just, I think just some people have it. Like staying at the Twin Fin tonight, and I've stayed there before, and like I barely go to the deck. Like I'm right by where the door is, but I'm going on, like, not hanging by that railing and looking down, and I can't climb coconut trees or none of that stuff. I wish I could. But picking helicopters, it's fine. Even bigger waves, it's not like I'm like, it's just, I think it's just on land.
Fear of heights. That's a good one. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're coming to the back end of the podcast, but I'd love to know, what do you think is like the biggest lesson life has taught you?
The biggest lesson life has taught me is to really not stress the small stuff. Early on, when my prosthetics weren't the best, they would often break, and often at the worst time. And I learned to just like kind of trust the process, that everything's going to be fine. Because you could almost like go crazy thinking every step it's going to break. Like I went on a surf trip to Mexico and literally got off the plane and it snapped in half. And I'm like, there's nothing I can do. Got to find crutches. Like your entire trip's done. And you can really, every step you take, just dread it and think that can end your day and all this negative thought, and to just really trust the process, that if it's your prosthetic or whatever it is in life, that everything's going to be okay.
Nice. If you could change anything, would you?
No.
Yeah. I mean, if you could snap a finger at some Thanos moment and...
No, I think I feel an incredible sense of purpose. Life's really fun. If you were to ask me that day whether I'd paddle out, knowing the rest of my life I'd walk with titanium and carbon fiber as a foot and have the life I have now, absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right on. Okay, so before we end the podcast, I got to know, what is your life hack?
And it kind of goes back, my life hack is kind of just goes back to what I said. If can. If no can, still can. I really think, my disability is very visual, very tangible, but everybody's got something. Everybody's got something that's sort of holding them back from living their dreams. And 2024, we have access to so much information, resources, really anything you want to do. Your wildest dream is possible. I really believe that. And it's the only thing that's stopping you is a thing between your 2 ears, like everything is available for you to do whatever the heck you want to do.
I totally believe that. That inspires me. I've been dealing with shoulder issues and knee issues this year. Well, they're old injuries. Like my knee is like something I was born with called bipartite patella, where my kneecap didn't fuse as a kid, so it looks like this.
Okay.
So that's been causing me like issues, and I haven't been able to run.
Yep.
Or basically do anything since like February maybe.
Okay.
And then I separated my shoulder like many years ago playing soccer. Ooh. So like surfing would always kind of hurt, but it's gotten to the point where it's just like that is sore.
Yeah.
Right over there kind of locks up.
Yep.
But then, I think of like people like you and like Bethany, and like in my head, I'm like, so before when I would still surf through the pain, I'm like, if Bethany Hamilton can surf with one arm, I can do it too.
Right.
But it's a little different. But
how's boogie boarding? If you just kick and
see,
like,
I never do that. People keep telling me to do that, but like I just never got into it. It's like my best friends, they're all boogie boarders.
Yeah.
But I would just sit on the beach and like just take photos of them or just chill while they do it. And once in a while, I'd go out and like I just like go straight or whatever. They'd be like, "Come on, you're nuts!" Like I'll just go on bombs and like going straight into the rocks or something. But like I turn. But I was never an ocean guy. I always want to try to get more into the ocean. Like even I could just like go and like just float around and swim. But like, I don't know. This looks not as fun to me. Then I have to do like some sort of activity, like surfing. Like I love surfing, so I haven't been able to surf for a while. But I can't really paddle, so that's like the thing. But you know, hearing your stories and like you know other people's, just like. There's ways. There's totally ways. And whether that's just me being more serious about physical therapy, getting this healthy, or like finding a different route to do what I love to do.
Or maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just keep doing what you do. I think what you're doing is awesome. And I think you turned the best, you made the best out of your situation. And it's just it's a great life lesson for everybody.
Well, thank you. Come on.
Yeah. No problem. I still you're not done yet though. Okay. I'm just saying all these nice things. Yeah. I got my last fast 5 questions. Okay. These are just rapid fire answers.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. All right. Favorite beach?
Honolulu.
Okay. Favorite vacation destination?
Tahiti.
Oh, okay. Well, where exactly?
Maria.
Okay.
I want to go to Whakarava.
What is that?
It's a outer island. It's got a lot of sharks.
So anywhere sharks. Have you stayed on those
no, the
houses?
the bungalows? No.
Those look cool.
Yeah.
That's definitely on my bucket list. Okay, favorite guilty pleasure?
Ice cream.
Oh, nice. What flavor?
Probably just vanilla.
Okay.
Vanilla, yeah.
Madagascar vanilla bean.
Yep.
It's the best. Actually, the French, the Tahitian.
Okay, Tahitian vanilla
is also really good. Okay. That's probably my like
chocolate peanut butter Haagen-Dazs is great as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What about like Ben and Jerry?
Yep.
Okay.
Like the half baked. That's a good one.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I like that. Cherry Garcia.
Okay. Yep.
Not a lot of people like cherry. Yeah. I love the Cherry Garcia. Yeah. Recently, we've been my girlfriend and I. You know, we've had some like late night grocery runs where we go and get some ice cream or something. Yeah. So I would say that's probably my guilty pleasure as well. Okay. Favorite TV show, but. I know you said you don't
watch TV.
You don't watch TV, but let me change it. Okay. Oh, do you have one?
No, but on the plane, my last I watched was Parks and Recreation.
Oh, awesome! Yes,
I was like, I felt bad for the people sitting next to me. I was in hysterics the entire time. It was so good. I watched the whole season.
That's funny. Okay, and favorite thing about sharks?
Their beauty. Yeah, their beauty. Just how magnificently gorgeous they are. Yeah.
That's so crazy that you said that after.
Yeah, their beauty.
Yeah. Okay. And let's add a 6th one just because I like to know this. Favorite post-dive snack?
Popcorn.
Oh, popcorn.
Popcorn, yeah. Sometimes I'll bring on the boat some popcorn or some butter.
I think we might have the same taste buds or whatever, because I love guilty pleasure would be ice cream, and my favorite snack
movie
is
theater
usually,
popcorn.
Yeah. I just went the other week. There's nothing better than movie theater popcorn. I love the hurricane popcorn as well.
Okay.
But I love popcorn out of day. You always gotta have that out of day.
Yeah.
I mean, I could eat it alone.
What about M&Ms?
Same. Yeah. I, that's not my go-to, but like if somebody has, like, I'll eat it. Yeah. Chocolate, that's really good. But my go-to is gotta be just like lihimui, furikake, arare popcorn.
Yeah. What's the one they make that, right? They package it? What is that?
Yeah, like at those like random shops that make popcorn. They call it like a hurricane.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I know what's it called? Samurai.
Okay.
I don't know if you know. They closed down. They used to be in Aya. They would make it, I think they call it iniki.
Okay.
Where it's basically everything combined into it. Yeah. So I love that. Okay. Right on. Well, mahalo for sharing your story, coming on and talking stories. I'm super stoked we finally made it happen.
I know. You're in the making. Thank you very much. It's been really fun.
Of course. Is there anything you want to share with the audience before we wrap up? If not, tell us where we can find you.
Just maybe dig a little deeper on sharks. Learn a little bit more about them. They need a really good publicist in a way. And I think they get a bad rap, and, just if you can, just spend a couple seconds just doing a little research. I think you'll be like completely surprised about what you learn about sharks. And to find me would probably be on Instagram. My name at Mike Coots.
Okay, right on.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I'm gonna dive into the shark world a little bit. Maybe if I ever go shark diving, I'll let you know.
Let me know.
I'll be like, hey,
right there next to you.
I went cage diving.
Yeah.
And we'll see how I feel after that.
Yeah.
But right on. Mahalo, Mike, for joining us on the Keep It Aloha podcast. Spread love, be kind to one another, and mahalo for listening to us today. We have new episodes every Thursday, so make sure you follow us and leave a review. I'm your host, Kamaka. Remember to always keep it aloha.